A follower thought it would be cool if I made a picture of Howl's moving castle in my architectural sketching style. I was happy for the suggestion because I had a few things that I wanted to try out with architectural sketching and doing it in a different way for me using watercolors and fine liner pens. Now, if you aren't familiar with Howl's moving castle, that is quite okay. It won't make much difference as far as it goes with this particular video. And I also promise that I will not reveal any spoilers about the movie. So you can watch without reservation. The movie is actually done by Studio Ghibli. A lot of people know it for its Japanese animation or anime. It's been well received, it looks like, overall. But there are a couple reasons I'm not going to tell you about the movie. One is, I hate it when people reveal movie secrets to me before I've seen it. I have had more than one argument about this in my lifetime. And secondly, and more importantly, I haven't seen the movie, so I couldn't tell you much about it anyway. But I do feel badly that I haven't seen it, because apparently it has been well received overall, and it would make sense for me to know what I'm drawing. But let me tell you, it has been a busy week, and I decided just to go for it without having seen the movie. Originally, I thought I'd also do a couple other drawings, some iconic buildings from anime and manga. I thought maybe the ramen shop in Naruto, and maybe a building from Alice in Borderland with a zeppelin nearby. But time became very scarce, and so I just start with making a moving castle, even though I really didn't know what it was that I was drawing. I couldn't help myself to look up some things about the movie just so I'd be somewhat educated, and I will talk about an exciting literary discovery that I made about Howl's Moving Castle a bit later on. But let's talk about the art a little bit and what I'm doing here. In this painting, I was interested in trying something I hadn't done much of with architectural art. I thought I'd lay in the basic colors in watercolor first, without knowing exactly where all the things were going to be. Now, I've done that quite a bit with portraits. I can do a light wash defining certain areas of the head, and over time darken those areas and define edges and the shadow areas and the light areas. I didn't know how this would work with something that was really, really complex. This was just something that was a little bit unknown to me. Complex, and did I mention that I decided I'm not going to do this drawing from a single reference photo? Yeah, I wanted to change a few things, from the reference photos that I saw. I wanted to make some changes to the composition and perspective, and I wanted to work on lighting with this one. I thought it would be fun to hint at a sunset and emphasize that with some really warm colors toward the light and some heavier, cool colors away from it. And so that was one of the things I was going after with this piece. I don't think I mind jumping into the deep end these days. I think that I've been more pleasantly pleased when I do that, instead of being just conservative and knowing exactly what I'm going to do. And sometimes it doesn't work out, of course. I'm not saying that there's zero risk, but I personally feel art, at least for me, is just a lot more fun if I approach it like I would a road trip. Having a basic destination in mind, but being open to little diversions and side quests and just see what happens. I did want to give this painting the best shot at succeeding, so I used a higher quality paper than I sometimes use. So on this, I'm using a 300 gram, 100% cotton, rough textured watercolor paper. I like the rough texture and how it holds the paint, but really this is just a personal preference. And as for my watercolors, I kind of built a limited palette, mostly of St. Petersburg full pan colors, just the really standard stuff. In the future, I'd like to build another palette with some more interesting colors, more granulating ones, and some metallics. I'm still pretty new to watercolors though, and I've just been getting used to these standard colors and how they work. But I think I'm at the point I'd like to try a few other things too. And as you can see here, a big part of this painting is the inking work. I use a variety of fine liners in general. For this one, I mostly used a 0.3mm pen, and toward the end I brought out a heavier Fude pen so I could emphasize things and add some depth and bring some things forward. And after inking things, I turned back to my watercolors and used them to more accurately define my areas, keeping in mind the shapes of objects and also the sunset light source off to the right, and then keeping the cooler dark shadows on the left and below. And I think overall that worked out pretty well by the end of this. Not 100% pleased. I think I got the orange areas a little bit too dark, but I think as far as a first time experiment on this kind of thing, I'm pretty pleased. So I wanted to go back to Howl's Moving Castle and its literary connection. Did you know that this movie was based on a book by an author named Diana Wynne Jones? Well, seeing that I didn't even know that the movie existed until this idea was suggested to me, I certainly did not. But I put a hold on the book at my local library. Apparently there are 3 Moving Castle books, so I'll see if I like the first one and I will go from there. But here's what I found really, really interesting, and maybe this is just a personal thing. Jones is not an author I'm familiar with. She wrote mostly fantasy, some science fiction novels. Some of them deal with time travel and multiple universes, and this is really right up my alley. And she has been cited as an inspiration to some of my all-time favorite authors. Terry Pratchett, Neil Gaiman, J.K. Rowling. So I wasn't intending to do anything but to follow a wish from one of my subscribers in doing this painting here. But wow, how cool would it be if I learned about a new author that I love? That would be very, very cool. Interestingly, I read that the castle in the books is described in quite a different way than it is depicted in the Ghibli film. This one would be tall and black, made of coal, very, very menacing. In the film, and as you can see in this painting, it's just sort of a pudgy little thing roaming around. Anyway, perhaps I could read the book and maybe I will draw what's described there, and we can compare the two. I don't know. What do you think? It's a lot harder for me to draw something from a book description, but I'd be willing to give it a try. In the meantime, I hope that you like this version of Howl's Moving Castle. It was fun to make, and I learned quite a bit too. It'd help me out a lot and make me very happy if you'd click on like for this video, and maybe leave a comment on future projects I should work on. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll have another video for you next week. Until then, bye-bye.